Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Happy Tuesday and welcome back to another episode of Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Najee Wilkins, along with Craig Sager. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. We'll have on Tri-Cities head basketball coach, and we'll have on Grayson head basketball coach as well. Talk about their latest matchups, two elite teams in 6 and also 5A. We'll get into a girls bracket preview / breakdown, and obviously we'll get into our fast break headlines and bring on Hayden for our last segment for our Hayden High School hits. But Craig, another great day. Obviously some great matchups tonight. So which ones are you looking most forward to for the girls' side?
There's some big upsets. I think one of the major ones we saw in 6A was North Paulding going down. It's a team that we all thought was going to make the finals at least. To me, I mean, Grayson's still good. I think you had the big matchup between Carrollton and, is it North Forsyth?
Yes.
That one, yeah, should be interesting because you have a North Forsyth team that has been pretty much running the table this season. I think they've only lost 2 games in the last 3 seasons, but Carrollton is very senior heavy, and I think they were the team that just knocked off, I believe that was North Paulding.
And then guess what? Carrollton also beat Hughes earlier this year too, that giving them only their second loss of the season. So they're pretty good.
Yeah, man, they've gone under the radar then.
Yes, very under the radar.
If
yes.
we've been talking about Grayson, North Paulding, now you got Carrollton second of those wins. That's like, it's quite a playoff run so far.
100%. And then before we get into fast break, just obviously the boys basketball we talked about off air. I mean, it's going so fast. I mean, we're in quarterfinals and then we'll be in semifinals this weekend. So what's just so far has been your favorite part about this whole tournament?
Well, I think what it shows, I mean, honestly, the highlight on the boys' side is what Norcross did to McEachern, a team that feels like they could have been heartbroken by not getting that number 1 seed. They knew the consequences of that. It put them in the toughest quadrant. And even though they now have to play Wheeler, it's like McEachern, I mean, that's up there too, but they go out there, handle business against them. So even if they fall short to Wheeler, I think that's just a valiant effort to be able to knock McEachern and then play a team that could potentially win the state championship this year, or a team that has done in the years past.
You've been watching Norcross for a long time, Craig. Do you think it's just a testament to the coaching of Coach, obviously, Mack, and what he's been able to do? I mean, a team that probably you went in, you weren't thinking they could make a run this year, maybe to win the Elite 8, but still able to do it, even not having that number 1 seed.
Yeah, and it actually, I've seen Norcross play over the years. The first time it really stuck with me was 2 years ago at the Corky Cow when they were playing Douglas. Douglas came out like on absolute fire. They're up by like 28 points. Norcross cut that game to 1 point in the second half. Even though they never had a lead the entire game, they made a huge comeback and showed me Coach Mack makes adjustments. And so going into that McEachern game, you knew that Norcross would have the ability to go to a full court press, go to a zone, have a different strategy on the boards. And it's just a matter of picking the right strategy and then being able to execute it. That's what they did. So I think they're a team that can adjust. They have a few stars. Obviously, Salisbury, he's been the staple the last few years of that guard spot. But in terms of their team defense and team offense, they can slow the pace down. They can run it faster. So that's what makes them unique.
Yeah, 100%. Can't forget about, obviously, Nasir Anderson, too, another standout here in the state of Georgia. But let's go ahead and get to our fast break headlines at the top. I know this is professional, but I did want to talk about this. Atlanta United continues to make history with their attendance. They set another record. Atlanta United drew one of the largest crowds this weekend, recording an attendance of 65,520 people in attendance. This was also the largest MLS opening day crowd on Saturday, surpassing the next largest by more than 35,000. So once again, I don't know what it is, but you have to credit, obviously, Arthur Blank, his foundation, obviously Chris Millman, who we work very closely with. They're doing an outstanding job of marketing this. And like I said, the Mecca, I think, becoming here in the United States. You see it, too, with next year, the World Cup also going to come here and play matches here. I mean, I think it's phenomenal what they're doing. And they are positioning themselves to be kind of that place you come to for soccer and high-class soccer as well.
Yeah, well, there's few places in the United States that you can watch a soccer match with close to 70,000 people. Atlanta is one of them. And when you look at what's been so impressive about their crowds, in 2017, when Atlanta United started, they set the league record, I think 45,000 fans. So that's a sold-out capacity. They had a couple games where they filled the bins. Now that actually came, I went back and looked at it. Orlando City, a big rival of Atlanta United, they got their own soccer-specific stadium the same year the Atlanta United did, but they were playing their games at the Citrus Bowl. So they were the first MLS team to have like a fill the bowl campaign. They wanted to have these games like, let's see if we can get 50,000 fans. Atlanta United, every time they've had one of these games where they open up the top, the fans show up. So I think that's what's so impressive. It's happened since the first year, the second year, and it's still happening today. And then when you look back at that first season, they had to delay Mercedes-Benz Stadium, pack all those games into September. They were having professional soccer games in Atlanta the same day that Georgia's playing, Georgia Tech's playing, and they're still selling out the games.
That's insane. As you said, obviously, people love, their Georgia and Georgia Tech ball, but just to be able to do that, I think says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when they did it the same days as the SEC football, ACC, and we're packing them out, that showed everyone Atlanta is a soccer town.
100%. All right, guys, our next headline, On 3 just released their latest 2026 recruiting rankings, and over 34 players from Georgia has made that list. The full list you can go to, obviously, on3.com to get it here. But some standouts on that list, obviously, you have Grayson linebacker Tyler Atkinson. A new name on here, Southwest DeKalb defensive lineman Ernest Ranking, so he's going to be one to watch, currently trending towards Georgia. Gainesville edge rusher Xavier Griffin, Bowden tight end / receiver Caden Prothro, who is 6'7", and is a target in itself. Sprayberry cornerback Jordan Edmonds. You have Buford edge Bryce Perry Wright, Brunswick athlete Hayes Kent. You got Carver Columbus edge Tristan Givens, Douglas County wide receiver Aaron Gregory, and Central Carrollton running back, Jonas Walton. So, Craig, I mean, with this graphic up, what is your biggest takeaway from that? 38 from Florida, 37 Texas, 34 Georgia, California, which used to be one of those staple, obviously, states, 20, North Carolina 15, which I see as a team that's starting to kind of rise a little bit, getting more in there along with Ohio. What's your thoughts of Georgia being a top 3 state?
Yeah, Georgia almost has 1 in 9 players on that 300 list. It's pretty impressive.
Yep.
But in terms of this list, there's 2 guys that I think are really interesting to watch this year. You got Caden Prothro from Bowden, the tight end. He is an absolute monster, and we've seen it with Elias Williams last year for Milton. I mean, the tight ends have been unbelievable. And then Brunswick's, this guy, I think he's like 6'8". He might be able to play offensive tackle in the NFL, but he's also a tight end, very versatile athlete, and Brunswick was very good last year. That's a team that people are sleeping on that can make a deep run in the playoffs next year. I think they came up pretty close this year, a team that maybe lost by 10 points or a touchdown. Kent is a special weapon. That guy he's different. He is absolutely massive, and that's why he's listed as an athlete. I mean, where do you put a guy with that size?
No, 100%. I mean, he's been it's in all his high school career, and he's been obviously spectacular. So it's going to be interesting to watch this year as well. All right, our next headline, Grayson boys track and field wins Collins Hill Eagle Icebreaker Invitational. They won the 18-team Invitational there. Rams total 149 points to beat runner-up Gainesville 93.5, and third place Shiloh, who had 69 points. Grayson girls scored 115.3 to take second behind Pope, who had 143 in the 19-team girls meet. First place finishers for Grayson boys were Jamel Beatty, 100-meter dash, 10.94 seconds. Jamar Cole with 300 hurdles, 38.59 seconds. And Daniel Thomas, high jump of 6 feet. Shiloh's Zawudi, he won the boys 3,200 with 10:20.68 time. And teammate Zion Atkinson won the 110 hurdles with 14.89. And Collins Hill Carson Black was the first boys long jump with 21.6 inches.
Yep. All right. Let's stick with some track and field. Headline 4, North Gwinnett track and field team sweeps the Gary Billion Invitational titles. The North Gwinnett boys and girls track and field team both finished first in Saturday's 9-team Invitational at North Gwinnett. North won the girls division with 179 points. Cambridge, who was also there, finished second with 114. And North Gwinnett won the boys one with 245 points, well ahead of runner-up North Hall's 86. First place finishers for North were Madai Simileo, 400 meters. He clocked that in 50 seconds, 24 hundredths. Nigel Jackson took the 300 hurdles with a 43.09, and then Owen Gaines took the 3,200 meter in sub 10 minutes. Norris girls got event wins from Cameron Martin and Tessa Pope in the 3,200. So the way the track and field season works, this last weekend was the first weekend that really had big meets where there's multiple well, not multiple, like 10 teams in them. Walton had an inter-squad scrimmage. A lot of other teams did. They were actually called off the week before. But typically what happens for a premier program like Westlake, Hughes, Walton, they'll host 3 meets throughout the season to get ready. They'll go to some of the other big events to challenge themselves against some of the other metro area teams, South Georgia, and then we're already into the county, then the regionals, then the sectionals, and then the state championship. So I'll have track and field blogs at scoreatl.com trying to track this, but it has definitely gotten underway this last week.
100%. Craig, you got the next one.
All right, headline 5, the GHSA partners with the Hawks and ref reps to train officials coming out of high school. This is a story by Reggie up at scoreatl.com. For the first time ever, the GHSA has partnered with the Atlanta Hawks and ref reps to look for graduating seniors who are interested in becoming basketball officials in the state. Daryl Lane, the associate director of basketball for the GHSA, explained why high school students are an important focus when it comes to the next generation of officials. Nationwide, there is a shortage of officials in every sport, explained Lane. Of course, we can't have the sports without having the officials. We are targeting the high school students because we understand that coming out of high school, you are more apt to stay involved athletically and actively. He continued, if we get them while they're still active, whether they are current or former athletes, it is most likely they will stay involved with it. Teaming up with ref reps for this initiative allows the GHSA to partner with a well-established company. Lane says that ref reps is already a proven entity that knows what it takes to train and retain new young officials. He mentions that older officials begin to move on from officiating. The need for the next generation increases. Over 50 students will be selected for this honor. You can go to refreps.com and you can check out scoreatl.com for more information on how to get involved.
100%. Our last headline before we get out of here, Mays. They downed, obviously, the coach shooting Bucks in that effort. They used their stout defensive effort, solid transition game, and stellar perimeter shooting. Mays cruised to a 74-34 win in the second round of the 4A state tournament. The loss brings a disappointing close to what has been an amazing season for the Buccaneers, a team that won 7 games 2 seasons ago, wrapped up this year with a 22-6 record, a perfect 14-0 mark in their Region 7. Real quick, this quote, that was probably the best game that Mays has played all year. From all the film that we saw of them, said Alatoona head coach Chad Phillips. They had one of their best shooting games when they needed it, and we didn't. I think we shot 2 of 20 or something from three-point range. Credit to them. They played extremely well. We just couldn't handle their pressure tonight, and they were much more physical than we were inside. They sustained the tempo that we weren't capable of matching. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Fast Break headlines. Coming up, an exclusive interview with Grayson head coach Jeffrey Pierce.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We got a great interview lined up for you guys. Shout out to Max for setting this one up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Coach Jeffrey Pierce of Grayson. What's going on, Coach? Doing good. I think you muted, Coach.
We good now?
Yes, sir. We good to go. How's everything, man?
Sorry about that.
Nah, you good, Coach. How's everything going, man? Long time no see.
Man, everything's good, man. Just trying to figure out how to win a game.
Yes, sir. 100%, Coach. So I wanted to ask you, the mark of a great coach is, there's new challenges, Coach, every single year, and you got to be able to adapt and be able to, kind of fine tune. So just what challenges did this new year present for this Grayson basketball team?
Last year's team, they had a couple seasons playing together, so the camaraderie and the cohesion, that was organic. It wasn't forced or anything like that. So, we graduated 3 starters, all 3 starting guards, and then our first guard and big off of the bench. So, everybody that returned was basically in a new role. Even Jake and Amir were returning starters. They were all state last year, but they were in new roles as well, more so leadership roles and things of that nature. So just trying to stay the course, because there were some hiccups along the way just due to the fact that there was some unfamiliarity with the group. But, they've done a good job pushing each other and getting better every day.
And speaking of that, Coach, you actually pushed this team. You guys played a gauntlet of a schedule, right? You played teams like Columbus, Millennium, Ottawa, Sierra Canyon, Central Catholic. So what did you kind of learn from your team going through that tough stretch? Only 2 losses all year. So what did you kind of learn from your group?
We've never, well, I can speak for myself, just trying to test them as often as possible with scheduling, right? If you look on Max Preps, we've got the strongest strength of schedule in the state. And, that wasn't, by chance. When you got goals like winning state championships or winning region championships, you want to make sure that you're tested along the way to kind of see what it is you need to get better at, 1. And then 2, there might be some things that, you do well that you wouldn't have known you done well if you hadn't, pushed yourself, competitively, like with the scheduling or whatnot. So, that was the thought behind it, just trying to make sure we're getting pushed as often as possible, because, you win or lose, you learn more about your team, when you're pushed and you face some adversity.
For sure. Now, Coach, we're going to talk about the rest of your team, but I do want to ask you about Caleb Holt. Not just offensively, Coach, but what does he bring to the floor? He does it defensively right here. Obviously, he had 17 rebounds. I know he's a 5-star prospect, but what do you see from him every day in practice that just makes him so different from the rest?
Man, Caleb does a really good job, giving us what we need each night to win a basketball game, right? Sometimes it might be him scoring a lot of points. Sometimes it might be facilitating. Sometimes it might be defense. And like you seen on that flyer you just posted, like he led us in rebounding this year. But, Caleb's got a professional work ethic. Like he's a self-starter. Like we don't have to, tell him he needs to work or, offer the opportunities to work. Like we're, he's putting in extra work every day, and you see that with the production. Like that isn't by mistake.
Coach, you're talking about how challenging your schedule was, obviously the region also. How does your team just keep the pedal to the floor, or whatever the saying is, just throughout the year, just getting yourselves up, knowing that the next challenge is going to be even tougher? How do you guys just stay motivated and have the mentality to keep pushing yourselves?
Well, each year we have the team like set goals for themselves and, individually and as a team. So, once they set the goals, the goal for everybody is just to try to get better every day. We feel like, if you're improving every day, like a lot of that stuff will take care of itself in regards to the success. But, this is my 13th year here, and we weren't, when I first got here, we weren't very good. So, it's easy to kind of get the message across to them that you're going to get everybody's best shot because, at one point in time when we were trying to get the program off the ground, like we were trying to earn our stripes off of, quote unquote championship contenders and all of that. So, we kind of speak from experience. Like, we've been on both sides of the coin. So you're gonna get everybody's best shot every night. You better hit first.
Right. We saw the stat line for Caleb in that Meadow Creek win, 19 points, 17 rebounds. You guys started that game off a little slow. Did you have to give your team a pep talk at all before they got going in that second quarter? Or what was it like on the sideline just watching them get in that groove and have that flurry in the second quarter?
Yeah, well, the Meadow Creek they hit a buzzer beater at the end of the quarter to put them up 3. So the crowd was kind of loud or whatever. We just get into the huddle and it's like, this is a veteran group. Even though we only returned 2 starters. Like, every person in our starting 5 won a state championship last year. So they kind of, when it's time to dial in, I don't have to say too much in that regard. So it was just, a matter of, come on, guys, let's lock in. Because, this time of year, you can get sent home by anybody, in my opinion. Like, all it takes is for somebody to dial it up on you one time and you're not ready to go, you're going to be at the house. So, they fully understand what's at stake. And, it didn't take too much to get them locked back in.
And then you'll be playing Cherokee next. That's the only number 4 seed still in the playoffs. You probably didn't know if it was going to be them or East Coweta. You've had a little time to prepare for this one. What stands out about Cherokee's run so far to the Elite 8, and what do you guys need to do?
Cherokee's coach does a good job, with his group. They were just in a state championship a couple of years ago. So, we know they're going to be ready, schematically. It's just with this time of year, regardless of what the seeding, but we know we've got a tall task at hand, Elite 8 with a Final Four spot on the line. But at the same time, if you told us, back in October when practice first started that, moving ahead to February in the state tournament, that we'd have an opportunity to go to the Final Four, playing an Elite 8 game at home, you take it.
100%. And, Coach, I want to ask you just a little bit about the growth of Amir Taylor. I know he's often overlooked, but he provides a lot for you guys on both ends of the floor, rebounding, basketball at a high level, finishing in the paint. He's been working on that jumper for what I've been seeing. Just what have you seen from him in terms of growth, Coach?
Man, Amir, he's been with us since he was a freshman. So, just to see him grow up from a baby, so to speak, like he was thrown in. We had a guy, Chad Moody. He was a junior at the time. He broke his arm first season of the year. So, we threw Amir in the fire immediately. And, he's risen to the occasion. I'm happy to see his growth just as a young man, and a leader. Like, he's added something to his game every year. And, it'll be good. I'd be happy to see him go out on top as a back-to-back state champion. He's earned the right.
For sure. And the last one, just to talk a little bit about Jacob Wilkins. We know how great and how flying he is. What have you seen from him that may be different, this year than compared to last year?
Much more of a leader for this group. He's our emotional leader, man. When Jake's dialed in, flying around, hitting the glass, we're pretty tough to beat. But he's made big strides in that department, just being more of a leader by example. I think his practice habits have improved tremendously. He's doing a good job facilitating for us as well this year. He's 3rd on the team in assists. So, just being a senior leader, he's made big strides in that regard.
For sure. Well, Coach, that's all the time we have. I want to say thanks so much for coming on, talk about your great Grayson Rams. Looking forward to seeing you again soon, Coach, and good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate y'all having me, man. Y'all have a good week.
Yes, sir. Have a good week, Coach. All right, guys, let's go. Jeffrey Pierce, head coach of the Grayson Rams. Appreciate him coming on, talk a little bit about his team. Coming up, we will break down the girls' basketball bracket.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Remember that you can watch the show on the Atlanta News First app, also CBS Sports Local streaming app, and you also can watch it via Peachtree Sports Network on YouTube TV, man. So y'all make sure y'all check us out. Same time, same place, every day, 12 to 1 o'clock. But now it is time to break down some brackets. So we'll go ahead and get started in 6A. Craig, I know you are salivating over one of these, and that is Grayson Lowndes. So what do you enjoy most? I mean, Grayson, I know they are Region 14 1, but lost so much talent from last year's team. Tatum Brown, she's been magnificent. She's committed to Jacksonville. Obviously, really good team, though, in Lowndes.
Yes, certainly. I think with Grayson, you see right below him Cherokee and Hillgrove. We'll talk about that in a second. Grayson's only loss was to Cherokee right at the beginning of the season. They're 28-1, haven't lost since. But this is going to be very tough. They've got to go down to Lowndes. Lowndes is the number 1 seed. You see they're the only South Georgia team still in it. They won that region. And then they opened the playoffs with a big win over Marietta, a team that is very talented, that will probably be a state championship contender in the years to come, probably the next 3 years. So they get that win first round. Now they have home court against Grayson. That's a long road trip for the Rams, and then it's an opportunity to play in the semis at Georgia State. In terms of the Cherokee Hillgrove, Hillgrove's a team that's been super talented. Their goal has been to win the region title. You see they're the number 1 seed. They won their first ever region title this year, beating teams like Marietta and Campbell. I think the Cherokee matchup will be good, and don't forget, Cherokee is the team that beat Grayson, so you cannot sleep on them. Great side of the bracket right there. You got North Forsyth and Carrollton squaring off right there. Carrollton just beat North Paulding, a team that was ranked number 1. Now they have a chance to serve North Forsyth, their first loss of the season. North Forsyth has not lost at home since the 2023 season in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Craig, Carrollton has been phenomenal all year. It's the reason why I had moved them up in our final playoff rankings or pre-playoff rankings. I mean, you go and you beat Hughes, who's obviously the top team in 5A. Then you beat North Paulding, who I still think is a state title contender. I know they're out now, but that is a state title contender. Carrollton is the real deal, so they better be ready for obviously North Forsyth. Gonna have to be able to find a way to slow down the region player of the year, which is London Weaver, which is no easy feat. But Carrollton is battle tested. They played a tough schedule. They're gonna be something fun to watch. Last one I wanted to point out was Newton versus Buford. Newton is led by London Smith. She leads them with 16.7 points per game, and Maya Perry has 10 points and 7.7 rebounds. She's been phenomenal all year long. So that's an interesting matchup. Buford is always talented, Craig, but Newton is going to be a team to beat.
Yes, they will. They went to Norcross, got a 59-49 victory in the last one. Buford would be a tough matchup also, but it's the speed and athleticism of Newton. Can they get in transition, play at a feverish pace, but also protect the ball? I think that'll be the key to Buford, but they should be able to match up with them just in terms of athletics. It's just who will knock down the shots, and beating Norcross at Norcross last round, that shows Newton has what it takes, and it's an opportunity for them and the boys to advance to state.
100%. All right, let's go to 5A. I'll start us off, Craig. Some really good matchups here. New Manchester River Ridge. I mean, New Manchester has Kyra Lawrence. She leads the team with 15.2 points per game. Also leads the team in rebounds, averaging 8.4. And she's shooting at an efficient clip from the field, 50% so far this year. So they have a really good basketball team that's very talented. Going against River Ridge, though, Kyla Canty, you look at Sophia Pearl, Finley Parker. They got so many players that can fill it up. Michaela Roberson's another one. Do they have enough to slow them down? We're going to find out. And then Woodward Academy versus Bradwell Institute. Bradwell Institute is led by Paris Parham. She's leading with 14.3 points per game and 7.4 rebounds. And then Kayla Winter leads Woodward Academy with 13.8 points per game.
What I like about River Ridge, first of all, I mean, they've only lost one game this season out of state. They're ranked, I think, number 23rd nationally, one of the highest rated teams in the state. To me, if you're playing River Ridge and let's say you've got a primary scorer for the other team, New Manchester, if they go right, dish it off, find an open man, River Ridge is going to make those in-game adjustments. These girls have so much experience, so it's hard to beat them at the same play more than once in a row. They adjust within the game, and that's why they're so talented. Forgot which boys team you were mentioning. Maybe it was Wheeler, but a team where or Mount Perrin, a team where any given person can be the leading scorer each day. You don't know who it's going to be for River Ridge. That's another reason they're so successful. But then you look on the other side, Bradwell Institute, big win over Lee County last round. They're going to play Woodward Academy. Veterans against Hughes. We know how talented Hughes is. And then you got Milton against Brunswick, the bottom right. Should be a good matchup, but I still think it goes through River Ridge. It's a team that has not lost within the state this year, nationally ranked, and very hungry after coming up short last year.
For sure. All right, let's go to 4A now. Obviously, got Creekside going to play against Ware County. That should be an entertaining matchup. Creekside has not lost all year. They're led by Sandia Dennis, who's been phenomenal. Ware County's been a battle-proven team, but I will go with Creekside on that one. Marist Cartersville brings a lot of intrigue. Obviously, can they slow down Kay Harpering and what her team's been doing all year? They'll be at home. Obviously, Cartersville's a gritty bunch, but really good. Maynard Jackson obviously beat your favorite in this one, Craig. They beat Kell. Obviously, they're going to go against Northview. I will go with Maynard Jackson, a team that won the state championship last year. They're battle-tested as well. And then Dalton and North Oconee.
Yeah, with Kell, I thought, man, Kell's defense is playing so well. They won their region. They look very talented, team that's made to the state. Maynard Jackson, they proved me wrong. They were able to score, break that Kell press, and have that big win. They should be able to handle business against Northview. You got Dalton and North Oconee, very intriguing. North Oconee has only lost one game this season. Dalton's 26-3. Then on the other side, Ware County against an undefeated Creekside team, but also Marist against Cartersville. Marist held Stockbridge to just 24 points in the Sweet 16. We know how good their defense is. You see Cartersville beat Pace 60-37. I think this is going to be a defensive game, very slow, but if you want to go the defensive route, there's not many teams that have a better defense than Marist. So Cartersville will have to come up with points. Points will be at a premium in this matchup, but I would say Marist is probably the favorite.
All right, let's go to the final one for today. Let's hit 3A. In the matchup I really like, Craig, is Luella. Luella's going to play against Fayette County. Luella's a team that's been knocking on the door for quite some time. Craig, I know you know this well. Led this year by Jasmine Baxter. She is averaging 19.3 points per game and 13 rebounds. She's been phenomenal. And Fayette County is led by Megan Onden. She's averaging 13.5 points per game. And Journey Scott, who's averaging 13. So really good matchup between those two. Can Luella get to a Final Four and make some noise? And obviously Baldwin and Heritage Catoosa will be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, Luella's a team that's made it to the finals. They lost that heartbreaker to Marist, I think, 2 years ago in overtime, where they got beat on 2 buzzer beaters. In the last round, they were able to beat Sandy Creek 58-57. So now they're starting to win those close games, where in the past, maybe their season comes to an end in a heartbreaker, but now they served it to Sandy Creek. So I think surviving such a tough matchup in the last round, that's going to give them some confidence. They had that dose of reality, that gut check, where it's a 1-point game in the final minute. They got to come out and execute. They did that well. This is a very talented overall Class 3A bracket, but I think Luella getting over the hump this last week against Sandy Creek, that's a big deal for them. Now they'll go on the road against Fayette County. Then you got Baldwin and Heritage Catoosa at the bottom, but huge win over Sandy Creek in the last round.
100%. Well, guys, are going to do it for our practice. We might pick this back up. I know tonight is the matchups for the girls, so we might put this up in our last segment. Just go over it really quickly to the rest of the classifications. But that's going to conclude this segment. Coming up, we will talk to Amari Forts of Tri-Cities Basketball.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. So we're momentarily waiting for, obviously, the head coach for Tri-Cities who will join us momentarily. But what have you been most impressed with, Craig, just so far with their run and what they've been accomplished this season?
Yeah, well, I think losing a tough one to Woodward Academy in the region tournament, but how they responded, they put up 103 points in the first round, had a big win over Sprayberry in the second round. So we know how good Woodward Academy is. They just beat Milton, team that has been ranked #1. They came up short, about 6 or 7 point loss, but the way they responded, not many teams have been putting up 100 points. They have that ability to just be an explosive team when they get going.
100%, and obviously they got a lot of talent. Trey Keith, Sean Van Dorn, obviously Jalen Wingfield, very talented group to say the least. But nonetheless, we'll talk to him here in just a moment, but some epic victories. They played a tough schedule, which we'll ask Coach about here. But I think a team that's gotten better as the season wore on. I remember seeing them in person against, obviously, Holy Innocents, coming up a little bit short, but I think they learned a lot from that game and moving forward, and they've been really good ever since.
Yes, they have, and I believe they beat Woodward once, and then they came back and lost the rematch. So, this is a team that can beat anyone in this bracket. They've made it to the Elite Eight. We've seen them make runs to the finals before. I think it'd be very big for this program. If they're able to conquer this Class 5A bracket, which I know they have the confidence to do, it would be huge for this program and the Bulldogs.
For sure, and I'm sure we have Coach now, so let's go ahead and bring him on. What's going on, Coach?
How you doing? Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you loud and clear?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir, Coach. So I just want to ask you a little bit about just the schedule. I want to kind of start there. You guys scheduled really tough. I got a chance to see you. Holy Innocents, Grayson, right? Lee County, Jonesboro, Green Forest, Newton, all teams that have made the playoffs and making good runs. Talk a little bit about that schedule you did early on in the season.
Well, we always try to play the best of the best. Every team we lost to out of our 6 losses is still active and still playing in the Elite Eight. Multiple ones with opportunities to move on to the Final Four and compete for championships. So I think iron sharpens iron, and that is the best way to prepare young men for success, to put them in a position where they can replicate extreme and tough situations against elite competition.
For sure. And then I want to ask you about Woodward Academy. It feels like that could be a rivalry that's starting to brew a little bit. You guys had an epic home win against them earlier in the season. And you've played them multiple times. Just what's your thoughts on them and that budding rivalry that could be kind of happening right now?
A very well-coached team with elite talent, led by some very good seniors. We've had battles with Woodward Academy for years and been in the region with them multiple times before. And looking forward to continuing that tradition. Our schools are less than 5 minutes away from each other. So we consistently, when we do play and we're in the same region, have battles. And they came out on top twice this year. They won both games at their gym. We won the one at ours. And if we're fortunate enough to see them again, it'll be for it all.
For sure. And then, Coach, I want to ask you about a player that's underrated, but he's been balling this year, and that's Sean Van Dorn. I know he's averaging second leading scorer for you. We see Keith and obviously Winfield get a lot of exposure, but talk about him. What has he improved the most since maybe from last year compared to where he is now?
Well, last year he was up in Virginia in high school, so I can't speak for a lot for what he did up there. But for us, just growing into being a leader, growing into being willing to hold some of the younger guys accountable. Anytime you have new parts and collection of guys who are all talented, there's a degree of sacrifice that has to be made as well. Sean is a guy that's capable of averaging 20, 25 plus in the right situation. But for us, he's made some sacrifices. Having already signed with Georgia Southern, so he didn't have to play with the pressure of trying to earn a scholarship. The focus is with him, and it's shifted him to just leading our young guys and putting us in the best position to be where we are tomorrow when we go to Habersham.
And Coach, talk about that dynamic a little bit, having a team where you have 3 seniors, but also some key contributors that are sophomores like Trey Keith. Do you see the young guys maybe playing for those seniors that have been putting in the work over the years? Just how does that benefit you guys to have that blend of experienced seniors and also underclassmen that are just new to it?
I think the biggest benefit is you're able to communicate in ways that young teams might not always be able to. We can be multiple defensively at times where you may struggle with that with a younger group. And I think the biggest benefit, not just this year, but over the course of multiple years, is having your young guys be exposed to deep playoff runs while your seniors in a position to help you win while you're in those runs. So even with us losing 3 seniors after this year, we're still set up to be very good for years to come.
And then after that game against Woodward Academy, you guys hit the ground running in the playoffs, 2 great wins. What was the overall message just about that loss and just knowing that you guys were right there with them? It's a team you know you can compete with, but just how to turn the page and focus on the season that matters?
Turnovers. Anytime you give a team that good multiple opportunities to beat you, good teams are going to reward and capitalize on turnovers. So that's been a focus, limiting our turnovers.
Absolutely. And then talk a little bit about this matchup coming up with Habersham Central, what you've seen from them so far in the playoffs.
See that they're undefeated at home. They have a lot of size. They really look to feature. Number 23, Juju inside. He's complemented very well by Enzo, their guard, number 2, who is their primary scorer. And they do a very good job of featuring those 2 guys and playing team ball around them. Again, they have not lost at home. We had not lost at home either, so they got the benefit of winning their region tournament while we came in second. So we're going to have to take that ride and see how we match up.
Yep, might not be a team you guys are familiar with playing each season. I want to ask you just overall with the physicality of the teams that are left in this playoff bracket. I mean, teams like Lee County, it looks like the physical aspect is very challenging. How does your team match up in that department?
We played Lee County earlier this year and had some success in that game. I think to answer this question, I'll go back to your first question about the quality of schedule that we have played. Every game that we have lost, we played against a team that is still playing. So we're accustomed to playing against the best of the best. We've beat several teams as well that are still playing. Not just here in Georgia, but also when we went up to Tennessee. Also, the team we lost to out of North Carolina is still playing as well. So one thing about our guys, we won't be intimidated by any team. It doesn't matter where we play in terms of fans, because fans have no direct impact on the game other than what you allow them to have mentally. Calls and stuff like that, none of that is going to impact the game outside of what we allow it to do. So we're excited about the opportunity to compete in a hostile environment and looking forward to it.
Now, Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Jalen Wingfield. I got a chance to see him up close and personal. You guys played Holy Innocents. And what I was most impressed with, Coach, I know you have to do things within the scheme of the defense, but he actually took the challenge of guarding Caleb Wilson. You know, a lot of guys don't do that or just go in the scheme, but you can tell that Wingfield wants to get better. He wants to be the best of the best. So for you, Coach, what have you just seen in terms of his play and him continuing to just mature and get better and better on the court?
Well, you just said it. The biggest thing with him that he has grown since this summer when he started playing with us after sitting out last year is just maturation. Understanding the why behind what we do, the how behind what we do. There's still some growth in that area, but he's immensely talented. And as he continues to gain experience, he's going to grow and continue to get better and better. He's the most talented player I've ever had.
Wow. And I know you've coached a lot of talented players as well. And then, Coach, who's been an underrated player for you this year that's been making a difference and impact? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the court. It could be scout team. It could be in practices. Who's been a guy stepping up for you?
Andrew Jones, the only kid on our team, and this kind of goes back to what you talked about earlier. We have a guy on our team that has won a state championship. We have another guy in Sean Van Duren that has played for a state championship. So Drew is the only guy that will play in this game on tomorrow night that knows what it feels like to be not just in the Elite Eight or the Final Four, but also in the state championship game. He's practiced against state champions and is accustomed to it. So he's number 10 for us. Last game at halftime, he had seven rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. And does that consistently without any accolades, any write-ups. He plays winning basketball. If I had to give an MVP right now today, it would be him.
100%. Now, as we wrap up, Coach, last question, just what has impressed you the most about this team collectively, where you guys are currently at this point?
Are you asking about us or the team that we're playing?
No. Obviously, Tri-Cities.
Just the resiliency. You know, the battles that we've gone through, a lot of them were early in the season, you know, so they were able to look past an initial record. I was able to get them to not focus so much on rankings because it doesn't really matter what you're ranked early in the season. I mean, it's nice for clippings and ego, but getting them to try to release some of that ego and focus on the bigger picture. We try to divide our season into quarters, and we're in the final quarter of our season now, and that's the playoffs. Looking to win one game at a time for 5 times. And they have embraced that completely.
Yes, sir. Simple as that, Coach. Well, Coach Forrest, we appreciate you coming on, talking about your great Tri-Cities teams. Wish you nothing but best of luck the rest of the way, Coach.
Thank you very much. Go Bulldogs.
Go Dogs. All right, there you have it, guys. Coming up after the break, we'll have Hayden's high school hits, and we'll talk a little bit about the girls' bracket before we wrap up the show.
I'll take Gwinnett.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Nigel Wilkes along with Craig Sager, and we have Hayden Gilbert who has joined us. So real quick, before we get into it with Hayden, we're going to look at these brackets real quick to conclude. Obviously, let's look at 2A real quick. Craig, what stands out here in 2A for you?
Well, you see the seeds right there. It's that Carver-Columbus team, the number 20 seed, just completely busting up this bracket. They had a nice win over Tattnall County in the last round, but see not too many upsets. It's pretty much 1 through 8, but they are definitely the outlier as the number 20 seed. They'll take on Morgan County, see if they can keep this thing going.
For sure. All right, let's go to Class C Division 1. I'll take this one. Lamar County versus Model. That's the matchup I'm watching for. Lamar County on a 5-game winning streak led by Josiah Foster. She's averaging 17.5 points per game and 7.6 rebound, and she's only a freshman, one to watch in our state, and Model has won 6 straight games and is playing some of the best basketball at the right time. All right, let's go to Class C Division 2, Craig. What stands out here for you?
Well, Class A Division II, we've seen all year long. Looks like Randolph Clay, a top team. You got a Wilcox County matchup. Clinton Screven. It's pretty wide open, but we have seen some upsets. And then this one, of course, isn't one that's seeded 1 through 32, so home court really mattered. But Wilcox County defeating Taylor County in the last round, 58-40. Certainly the biggest win so far in that bracket.
For sure. And Wilcox County, watch out for Zariah Marks. She's averaging 14.4 per game. All right, let's go quickly to Class A 3A private. The one I got circled, Craig, I want to see if they can do it. It's going to be a tough battle, but Hebron Christian versus Mount Perrin. Mount Perrin's having a great season. They've played St. Francis, Galloway, Southwest Atlanta Christian, Padilla, Maynard Jackson. They're pretty battle-tested, and Hebron Christian continues to get it done with Mia James, Cameron Register, and Daniel Ochu, all talented players, even though they lost a couple players this season to injury.
Yep, it will be possibly the last game for Jessica Fields unless she can lead her team to the big upset over Hebron.
100%. All right, guys, now we bring on Hayden to talk the latest on what he's working on. I know you got a great story, but Hayden, what is your reaction to Mike Nash of Dunwoody officially stepping down?
I mean, it's just crazy that this late in the cycle that's happening.
Yeah.
Like, he's been there a long time. He's getting older. Like, 10 years is a really long time to be a head coach somewhere, especially nowadays. We don't see a lot of these coaches spend 10, 20 years at programs anymore. But it's also just interesting. He's coming off his best 2 seasons. The last 3 years, they've outscored their opponents, which they hadn't done since 2011, before he was there. And they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row. So it feels like the program's going in the right direction. I was just kind of shocked that this late into the season he decided he was retiring or stepping away from the program.
Yeah, for me, there's been times where they've been classed up in like 7A, and if you look at it, they're the smallest school in that entire classification. So he's had a tough challenge. Also, the fact that because of where Dunwoody's located, they don't even have a home football field to play. They've got to share the stadium. He's been the athletic director. He's been the head boys lacrosse coach, which they've been tremendously talented, and the football coach for a long time. So anyone that's gone through Dunwoody High School, I think he's also helped coach baseball too. I mean, he is the coach that will go down in Dunwoody history as probably the best coach they've ever had. So a huge news, but to Hayden's point, coming this late, it is interesting.
Question for you, Craig. You mentioned everything, all the accolades and everything he's done in his career. What do you think next for him? Do you think it's just retirement, or do you think he lands on his field with another program?
I mean, he could definitely stay at the school and just be the AD. I mean, he says that, I think in his quote, he says, "That being said, all good things must come to an end. I love and respect coaches like T. McFerrin." He said, "You can leave while they still love you, or you can hang around until they all hate you." A pretty interesting quote for him to say, but I think that's just showing that he feels like he is going out after 2 very successful seasons. He feels like the program's in the right spot.
And obviously, for those at home that are watching, there was a team that was featured in our Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic as well this past year. Gave us a really good battle as well. Defensive battle, but played really, really good. My next question for you, Hayden, we'll kind of transition here into a new sport, and that's girls soccer. I know the rankings are going to come out this week. What happened this past weekend? What's the latest around that?
It's been a little bit crazy. I think the top classifications have been kind of stable, especially there at the top. You look at, I've moved Buford up. I think they've played really well, but it's not really, you still look at, you have Walton, Harrison, Buford, West Forsyth. Kind of the same thing in 5A. You have Roswell, Pope, Laster, all of those kind of really good schools. But then you get to the lower classifications. Private's been really tough because of all those teams. Like, I had to drop Mount Perrin down, even though they lost their first game. I had to drop them to number 10 because there's just so much talent there. Some of the other ones that were really tough were 3A's kind of tough to my top 3 teams. Oconee County's still at number 1, but schools, I dropped, I've moved Dawson County up to number 2. They've played really well up to this point, and dropped Cherokee Bluff and Jefferson, who came in as kind of, I don't think anybody questioned them being 1, 2, and 3. Is now you're looking at them and you're like, maybe they're not as good as we thought they were, or maybe they just haven't gelled yet.
Very interesting.
That region reminds me of the Forsyth one with like Lambert, West Forsyth, North Forsyth, where it's like you don't know who to pick. Who's it going to be? Oconee County, Cherokee Bluff, Jefferson. All 3 of those usually cancel themselves out. But to your point, in the Class A private, that was the one that had 5 defending state champions in it. So early in the season, they're in this new classification. It's hard to really punish them. Did you see a lot of maybe out-of-state matchups in the last week also?
A lot of them, especially in West Georgia to over in Columbus, the Columbus area. Multiple teams played Auburn High School out of Alabama, and just on that side there was a lot more, but most teams kind of stay in the state. Augusta had a few that are out of state, but not really. They're just kind of in that Augusta area. They're in North Augusta, or they're just across the state line. Most teams right now are kind of staying inside the state.
Gotcha.
100%.
And then what else is on your board for this week? Upcoming blogs you got?
So I have my private blog coming up. I'm going to do that on the basketball playoff bracket. Probably I'm going to look at that Hebron Christian Mount Perrin game. That's kind of the game. You're looking at two really, really good programs there. So that's probably what I'm going to do it on, especially if Mount Perrin's able to pull off that upset.
It's a good point. Obviously, as you mentioned, Craig, Jessica Fields in there. Obviously, we know what Hebron Christian's been able to accomplish this year. That's going to be a great matchup, an elite matchup that really should be a Final Four type matchup. But that's all the time we have for today, guys. We'll be back tomorrow for another great episode. You know, same place, same time, right here at noon on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Beginning.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.